Since October, agents along the 70-mile stretch of border here in El Centro sector have seen a nearly 400% increase in family units arriving in the sector. And you compare that with other years, pretty amazing. But what we've done and what we're doing, you're going to see some very, very strong results. And as soon as the barriers or the walls, I like calling them walls, because that's what they are, go up, you're going to have a tremendous impact. Where we are going to be in a little while, I've heard from people in that area that the impact has been incredible. It's a colossal surge, and it's overwhelming our immigration system, and we can't let that happen. So as I say, and this is our new statement, the system is full, can't take you anymore. Whether it's asylum, whether it's anything you want, it's illegal immigration, can't take you anymore. We can't take you. Our country is full, our area is full, the sector is full. Can't take you anymore, I'm sorry, can't happen. So turn around, that's the way it is. If you look at our southern border, the number of people and the amount of drugs, human trafficking. The human trafficking is something that nobody used to talk about. I talk about it. It's a terrible thing. It's ancient, and it's never been bigger than it is modern right now, today. All over the world, by the way, not just here, all over the world. Human trafficking, a terrible thing. And they come into the areas of the border where you don't have the wall. They don't come through your points of entry. They come into areas where you don't have the wall. And they make a left or they make a right. They come right into the country, loaded up with people in many cases, and it's pretty sad. I never changed my mind at all. I may shut it down at some point, but I'd rather do tariffs. So Mexico, I have to say, has been very, very good. You know that over the last 4 days since I talked about shutting down the border. If they continue that, everything will be fine. If they don't, we're going to tariff their cars at 25%.
So President Trump on his way to the border with Mexico off the California, that from a moment ago at the White House. This coming now after the president eased up on his threat to shut down the border earlier in the week. But the tariff threat is still out there. It's going to give him a year to figure it out. Pam Bondi, former Florida Attorney General, now with Ballard Partners out of Tampa today. Pam, good morning to you. Where do you think we are right now as he makes his way to California?
I think we're in a great spot, Bill. I think we're in a great spot. You know, President Trump is a master negotiator. We all know that. That's why he was such a successful businessman and why he is a great president. The Mexicans are going to listen to him because he means business. When he says he'll shut down the border, he'll shut down the border. But if he can negotiate, which he's doing, if he can put 25% tariffs on them if they don't cooperate, that'll destroy Mexico. And the Mexicans don't want that to happen. We know we have a crisis at the border. As a prosecutor my entire career, I've seen it firsthand. The drugs that flow into this country, the human trafficking that comes into this country. I've been to Mexico, as you both know, and seen it firsthand as Attorney General. And the guns that are coming into our country, you know, we as law-abiding citizens, we want to have our guns to protect ourselves. The liberals don't want us to have them. Yet, they're not concerned about the guns coming into the country going straight into the hands of Sir 13 and other gang members. That's absurd.
I want to circle back to you talking about working with Mexico. Sure. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was on Fox earlier talking about just that. Here he is.
They are. They're saying they're going to do it. So we need to see action. And now we need to make sure they have the capacity. And so we've worked with them to help them for years and years. We've provided lots of resources, not only to Mexico, but to Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador as well. And they have to do it. And if not, the president is going to ensure that we protect our nation.
What sort of progress do you think we can actually make there, Pam?
Well, I think, as I said, we have a master negotiator, and that's what President Trump's been doing. That's what he's so great at as president. I think we're going to make tremendous progress because I think the Mexicans know that we have a president now in office who means business. Under President Obama, his DHS secretary, he was saying we had a crisis. But now Under President Trump, they're taking us seriously, and Secretary Nielsen's been doing a great job.
You're 2 years in, and they're only replacing existing fencing and not building new border wall yet. Can you consider that an accomplishment at this point?
Well, I think we all know the president's going to get what he promised the American people: secure borders from Mexico. And a wall will be built, whether you call it a beautiful fence or a huge wall. It will be built. It's going to protect our country because the president has committed to that. And that's what's going to happen. And he's going to fight for that, as he has.
Here's what he said earlier. However, if for any reason Mexico stops apprehending and bringing illegals back to where they came from, the U.S. will be forced to tariff 25% all cars made in Mexico shipped over the border to the U.S. If that doesn't work, which it will, I will close the border. Pam.
That's right. That's exactly right. And what he's saying is, I will close the border. I'm not scared to close the border. Everyone in the world knows he will close the border. But what he's trying to do is negotiate and have them do the right thing before he shuts down the border completely. Do we have to have a wall, a gate? Yes, we do. To keep, as I said, all the drug dealers, the human traffickers, the illegal guns coming into our country, out of our country. This is a true crisis that we're living, and we all know this. In my state alone, you know, when we have, 17 to 20 people dying a day, 130 in our country, more than car accidents, that's a crisis.
Got it. Pam Bondi, thank you for joining us on America's Newsroom. Good to see you.
Thank you.
President Trump is coming here to see what the administration is calling the first finished section of his border wall. Now, there's been some version of a wall here for quite some time, and planning for this replacement wall actually began during the Obama administration. But it was not funded until President Trump took office, which is why there is now a plaque with President Trump's name on it, actually on the wall just behind me. Now, Border Patrol agents here in the El Centro sector say that this wall is necessary for two big reasons. First, to keep their agents safe from rocks and blocks of concrete that are being thrown at them over the shorter, older section of the border wall. The latest incident of this happened just 2 days ago. And second, they say it's needed to try to stem this surge of migrants. From 2017 to 2018, this sector has seen a 97% increase in the apprehensions of family units. Now, there's been a great deal of concern in this border town that President Trump would make good on his threat to shut down the border. But yesterday, the president backed down from that threat, at least for now. And I'll let him explain why.
Mexico has been doing a very good job the last 3 or 4 days since we talked about closing the border, which is very real. But what's more real initially is tariffs on the cars coming in, a 25% tariff on the cars being made in Mexico coming in.
President Trump will be arriving here in Calexico in just about 5 hours from now. He's going to be meeting with Border Patrol and immigration officials. And of course, Bill, he's also going to be touring a section of this new wall.
Mexico understands that we're going to close the border or I'm going to tariff the cars. I'll do one or the other. And you probably start off with the tariffs.
Well, so President Trump now says he will give Mexico 1-year warning to stop the flow of people seeking asylum. Republican Congressman Sean Duffy out of Wisconsin here to talk about this. Seems to be a bit of a moving target, Sean. Just cut to the chase as to what the solution for you would be as a member of Congress.
So first off, I think the president's right. One, you got to get Mexico engaged. I think a year is too long, Bill. If you're going to push Mexico, you got to set a deadline of 3, 4, 6 months. But you don't want to be in campaign season next year and threatening to shut down the border. But here's the bottom line. I mean, Democrats aren't engaging. You have Jay Johnson, the former lead of Homeland Security under Barack Obama, the former Border Patrol lead, Mark Morgan, have all come out and said, listen, this is a crisis at the southern border, though we have Democrats who aren't engaging in trying to fix the problem. Chris Cuomo from CNN, who has been a denier of a crisis at the border, has come out once he was down there and said, we have a crisis. And so I look at what the president's doing, and it has to be a full frontal attack. One, Democrats have to get engaged. The president has to push them. He has to push Mexico to do their part to secure their southern border. And now what he's done for the Central American companies, including Guatemala, is he's pulling their aid. So he's doing everything he can to protect the American people and put our country first.
On that point, I thought this was interesting. I think it slipped by a lot of commentary. He talked about Mexico having the strongest immigration laws, as strong as there is anywhere in the world. They can do what they want to do. And then he suggested they've done a great job with Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador of what it appears to sound like is shoring up their own southern border. Do you know if that is in fact the reality there?
No, I don't. Sometimes President Trump will give people, in his language, a carrot, and then he'll swat them with his stick. We have a ton of people coming to our border, and they come through Mexico's southern border, so of course it's not secure down there. And I think what, the new policy in Mexico with their new president, giving asylum and status to Central Americans who come through Mexico, that's an incentive to leave Central America and come to Mexico, and others are coming to our southern border. So it's the policy in both countries. They're incentivizing, folks to leave the difficulty of Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, and come north for opportunity.
So much of this is an economic deal. Would you support a tariff at some point?
Listen, I would. Listen, I think we have to use every tool in our toolbox to get this right. But you know what we're doing, Bill, is we're talking about, tariffs on Mexico. This is an American issue. Democrats have to get involved. I mean, they've had control of the House for, 4 months now? Have you seen a border security bill come up? If they don't like President Trump in the wall or barriers, what is their plan? I mean, Beto O'Rourke, who's running for president, wants to tear down all the walls. I mean, this has become an open border party. And the way Washington works, you need compromise from both sides. So if Democrats say no, we can't get anything done. And again, I think the president has to continue to bludgeon Democrats and drive the issue that it's a crisis at the border to get them on board and shore it up. But they have no plan to secure the border, and they've controlled the House for 4 months.
Well, we may see him in a matter of moments here. Sean Duffy, thank you so much for your time. Back home in Wisconsin.
Thank you, Bill.